You know what they say about eavesdroppers never hearing good things about themselves? Well, they're right. But sometimes you hear something so much worse than gossip about your receding hairline or your choice in flannel shirts. Sometimes you hear your wife of 18 years moaning another man's name while describing exactly what she wants him to do to her body. I'm Jake Morrison, and I run Morrison's Classic Car Restoration on the outskirts of Millbrook, New Hampshire. It's a decent business, not fancy, but it pays the bills and keeps my hands busy. At 42, I've got grease permanently embedded under my fingernails, a back that creaks when I bend over engine blocks, and apparently a wife who thinks I'm about as exciting as watching paint dry on a rusty bumper. The call came in at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was under the hood of a '67 Mustang, trying to figure out why the owner's previous mechanic had jerry-rigged the electrical system like a drunk spider spinning a web. My phone buzzed against my hip and I almost ignored it. Aaron never called me at the shop this late, but something made me answer. Maybe it was the same instinct that told me when an engine was about to blow. "Jake?" I said, wiping my hands on an already filthy rag. Silence. Then giggling. Soft, breathy giggling that I recognized but hadn't heard directed at me in about 5 years. "God, Grant, you're terrible." My wife's voice drifted through the speaker, distant but clear enough to make my stomach drop. "I can't believe you just said that." Grant. Grant fucking Whitmore, senior partner at Whitmore and Associates, where my wife had been working as a junior attorney for the past 3 years. The same Grant who'd been to our house for dinner parties, who'd shaken my hand and complimented my honest work with that patronizing smile rich guys perfect in law school. "I mean it, Aaron," came a man's voice, smooth and confident. "This weekend at the lake house, I'm going to make you forget all about that grease monkey you married." My hand tightened around the phone so hard I thought the screen might crack. "Shh," Aaron laughed. "What if he hears us? He's probably passed out in front of the TV with a beer in his hand. These blue-collar types are so predictable. I should have hung up. Should have pretended I never heard it." Instead, I listened to my wife of 18 years describe in explicit detail what she planned to do with her boss this coming weekend while I was supposedly working at a car show in Vermont. The call lasted another 10 minutes. 10 minutes of my marriage crumbling while I stood in my garage surrounded by the honest work Grant found so amusing. When it finally ended, apparently Erin had discovered her phone had been on. I sat down on my work stool and stared at the Mustang's engine. Funny thing about engines. When they're running right, every part works in harmony. But when one component goes bad, it doesn't just affect that one piece. The whole system starts breaking down, overheating, seizing up, making terrible noises before it finally dies. I drove home through empty streets, past the downtown law offices where my wife was probably still working late with Grant. Our house sat in Millbrook's middle-class neighborhood, not fancy enough for Grant's crowd, but respectable. Aaron had been pushing for us to move somewhere more appropriate for a lawyer's family, but my business was good, not great. Apparently, she'd found another way to upgrade her lifestyle. The house was dark except for our daughter Lily's room. At 17, she was always on her phone or laptop, living in that teenage world where parents were either ATMs or obstacles. I wondered if she knew. Kids pick up on things, especially smart kids like Lily. Aaron's car wasn't in the driveway. Working late again. I sat in my truck for a while, engine ticking as it cooled, thinking about 18 years of marriage. The good times felt distant now, like looking at someone else's photo album. When had we stopped talking? When had she stopped seeing me as anything more than a paycheck and a warm body taking up space in her bed? My phone buzzed. A text from Aaron. "Working late again?" "Don't wait up." I almost laughed. At least she was consistent in her lies. Inside, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and noticed things I'd been blind to before. The expensive wine in the rack. When had Aaron developed a taste for $40 bottles? The new jewelry box on the kitchen counter with earrings I'd never seen her wear. The credit card statements I'd stopped paying attention to, trusting her to handle the finances since she was the lawyer. I spread the last 3 months of statements across the kitchen table. Restaurants I'd never been to, boutique clothing stores, a weekend spa trip she'd claimed was a legal conference. Hotel charges in the next town over on nights she'd told me she was working late. The pattern was right there, hidden in plain sight like an engine problem you miss until it's too late to fix without a complete rebuild. My phone rang. Mick Donnelly, my best friend since high school and owner of Donnelly's Pub downtown. "Jake, you sound like shit. What's wrong?" I told him everything. The call, the credit card statements, the lies. Mick listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. "Jesus, Jake, I'm sorry, man. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. But I'm done being the dumb grease monkey who doesn't notice his wife is screwing her boss. You want some advice? Don't do anything stupid. Don't confront her tonight while you're pissed off. Sleep on it. Then we'll figure out how to handle this." But I was already walking upstairs, beer in hand, ready to wait for my wife to come home from her late-night meeting. Erin came home at 2:17 a.m., heels clicking on the hardwood floor like a countdown timer. I was sitting in the living room armchair, lights off, nursing my third beer, and thinking about how many nights I'd fallen asleep on the couch waiting for her to come home from work. She jumped when she saw me, hand flying to her chest. "Jesus, Jake! You scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" "Couldn't sleep," I said, keeping my voice level. "How was work?" Even in the dim light from the street lamp outside, I could see her face change. The guilty micro-expressions I'd been missing for months were suddenly obvious. "Long day. The Henderson case is really complicated." She was already moving toward the stairs. "I'm exhausted." "I bet. Must be hard work, all that. Collaboration with Grant." She froze on the third step. "What's that supposed to mean?" I held up my phone. "You butt-dialed me tonight, around midnight. Want to guess what I heard?" The color drained from her face. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married, vulnerable, caught, human. Then her lawyer training kicked in. "I don't know what you think you heard, but I heard you planning to fuck your boss at his lake house this weekend while I'm supposedly at the car show in Vermont. I heard him call me a predictable grease monkey." I heard you laugh. She came back down the stairs, and I could see her shifting into attorney mode. Deny, deflect, attack. "You're being paranoid, Jake. That call was probably—" "Don't." I stood up, and something in my voice stopped her mid-sentence. "Don't insult my intelligence more than you already have. I've seen the credit card statements, the restaurants, the hotels, the clothes I've never seen you wear." "How long has this been going on?" "Jake, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years." "How long, Erin?" She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her calculating, wondering how much I knew, how much she could still deny. 6 months, she finally said. "It just happened. We were working late and— Bullshit. The credit card statements go back over a year. Try again." Her shoulders sagged slightly. 14 months. 14 months. Over a year of lies, of me being the faithful husband while she was playing house with her boss. Over a year of her coming home to me after being with him, of her kissing me goodnight with his taste still on her lips. "Why?" The word came out rougher than I intended. "Because you stopped trying." The words exploded out of her. "When's the last time we went somewhere nice? When's the last time you wore something other than work clothes to dinner? When's the last time you talked to me about anything other than carburetors and transmission fluid? So this is my fault? You checked out of this marriage years ago, Jake. You're content to stay exactly where you are, doing exactly what you've always done. Grant has ambition. He has plans. He makes me feel like I matter. And I don't? You make me feel like your roommate who occasionally has sex with you." The words hit harder than I expected. Maybe because there was some truth in them. So instead of talking to me about it, you decided to fuck your boss for over a year. It wasn't supposed to happen, but Grant sees something in me that you stopped seeing a long time ago. What I see is my wife who's been lying to me for over a year. What I see is a woman who's been spending our money on another man. What I see is someone I don't recognize anymore. Maybe that's because you never really looked. We stared at each other across the living room, 18 years of marriage reduced to this moment. I thought about all the nights I'd worked late to build the business, thinking I was building something for us. All the times I'd been proud when she got promoted, when she started making more money than me, when she began moving in circles I'd never fit into. What happens now? I asked. I don't know. Grant and it's complicated. His wife doesn't know. His position at the firm. I don't give a shit about Grant's position. What about us? What about Lily? Lily's almost 18. She'll be fine. The casual way she dismissed our daughter's feelings told me everything I needed to know about where Aaron's priorities lay. So that's it? 18 years, and you're ready to throw it away for your boss? I'm not throwing anything away. You did that years ago when you stopped being a husband and became a fixture. A fixture. Like a piece of furniture she'd grown tired of looking at. Get out, I said quietly. What? Tonight. Pack a bag and get out. Go stay with Grant, or your sister, or wherever you want. But don't sleep in my house tonight. Jake, be reasonable. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults don't sneak around for over a year. Adults don't spend their spouse's money on their affair. Adults don't laugh about their husband with their lover. You want to be with Grant? Go be with Grant. You can't just throw me out. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. It's in my name. The business paid for it. Your name isn't on the deed. I saw the moment she realized I wasn't the pushover she'd thought I was. Fine. But this isn't over, Jake. We have assets. We have Lily to think about. You can't just pack a bag, Aaron. We'll figure out the rest later. She stood there for another moment, maybe waiting for me to change my mind, to beg her to stay. When I didn't, she went upstairs. I heard drawers opening and closing, hangers scraping in the closet. 20 minutes later, she came down with a suitcase and her laptop bag. I'll call you tomorrow. We need to discuss this rationally. Sure. Give my regards to Grant. After she left, I sat back down in the chair and finished my beer. The house felt different already, not empty exactly, but like a weight had been lifted. Or maybe like a Band-Aid had been ripped off, leaving the wound exposed but finally able to heal. My phone buzzed. A text from Aaron. I'm sorry it came to this. I deleted it without responding. The next morning, Lily found me making coffee in the kitchen. She looked around, probably noticing her mother's absence. Where's Mom? She's staying somewhere else for a while. Lily was smart enough to read between the lines. She'd probably sensed the tension, maybe even suspected something was wrong. Are you guys getting divorced? I don't know yet, sweetheart. We're figuring things out. She nodded, grabbed a granola bar, and headed for the door. I'm staying at Sarah's tonight. And just like that, I was alone in the house I'd worked 15 years to pay for. I went to work because I didn't know what else to do. The Mustang was still waiting, its engine problems suddenly seeming simple compared to my life. Engines could be fixed. You just had to identify the broken parts and replace them. Around noon, Mick showed up at the garage with sandwiches and coffee. You look like hell, he said, settling onto a work stool. Feel worse. She's been screwing Grant Whitmore for over a year. Grant Whitmore? That pompous asshole from the law firm? The same. Apparently I'm too blue-collar for her refined tastes. Mick was quiet for a moment, unwrapping his sandwich. You know, I never liked her friends. That whole crowd she started running with after she got promoted. They always looked at the rest of us like we were the help. You never said anything. Wasn't my place. but I saw how she started talking to you at parties, like you were embarrassing her just by being yourself. I thought about the last few social events we'd attended together. The way Aaron would introduce me as my husband, he owns a garage, with that apologetic tone. The way she'd steer conversations away from my work and toward her cases, her firm, her ambitions. "So, what's the plan?" Mick asked. "I don't have one yet." "She's probably going to want half of everything." "The hell she is. You built this business before you met her. The house is in your name. Get yourself a lawyer, Jake. A good one." "With what money?" "She's the lawyer in the family. There are other lawyers. Better lawyers. And Jake? Don't let her paint you as the bad guy in this. She's the one who cheated. She's the one who lied. Don't you dare let her make this your fault." That afternoon, I called Tom Bradley, a divorce attorney Mick recommended. Bradley had a reputation for being tough but fair, and he didn't like cheating spouses. "Mr. Morrison, I've reviewed the information you gave me over the phone. The good news is that New Hampshire is an at-fault divorce state, meaning her adultery will be taken into consideration. The bad news is that she's going to fight dirty. Lawyers always do." "What do you mean?" "She'll try to claim you were abusive, neglectful, that the marriage was already over. She'll try to make her affair seem like a symptom rather than a cause. And she'll go after your assets hard. The business is mine. I built it from nothing. That's what we'll argue. But be prepared. This is going to get ugly before it gets better." He was right. The next morning, I found a process server at my garage door with divorce papers. Aaron was claiming irreconcilable differences and seeking alimony, half the value of the business, and primary custody of Lily. The really creative part was her claim that I had anger management issues and had been emotionally abusive throughout the marriage. According to her filing, my blue-collar resentment of her success had created a hostile home environment. I called Tom Bradley immediately. "She's trying to get ahead of the narrative," he explained. "If she can paint you as an angry, controlling husband, it makes her affair look like an escape from an abusive situation. That's complete bullshit." "Of course it is. But we'll need to prove it. Do you have any witnesses to your interactions? Anyone who can testify to your character?" I thought about our friends, or rather Aaron's friends, who had become our friends by default. The lawyers, the real estate agents, the insurance executives who made up our social circle. They'd known Aaron longer, socialized with her more, and frankly had more in common with her than with me. I'm not sure. Well, you better get sure. Because she's going to try to destroy your reputation to protect hers. That evening, I got a call from Dave Peterson, a guy I'd known since high school who worked in insurance. "Jake, I heard about you and Aaron. I'm sorry, man." "Thanks, Dave. It's been rough. Listen, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but Aaron called my wife today. She's telling people you've been difficult, controlling, that you threatened her." My stomach dropped. That's not true. I know it's not. But she's got people talking. Sarah came home asking if I thought you were capable of violence. Jesus Christ. I told her absolutely not, that you're one of the most level-headed guys I know. But Jake, she's getting her story out there first. After Dave hung up, I sat in my kitchen thinking about how quickly 18 years of marriage could turn into a war. How the woman who'd once promised to love me forever was now systematically trying to destroy my reputation to cover up her own betrayal. My phone rang. It was Lily. "Dad? I heard Mom moved out, and some of my friends are saying weird things." "What kind of things?" "That you and Mom had a big fight. That maybe you hurt her?" The pain in my daughter's voice was worse than anything Aaron had done to me. "Lily, I need you to listen to me. I have never, ever hurt your mother. Not physically, not emotionally. She left because she's been having an affair with her boss for over a year. That's the truth. Silence on the other end." "Lily?" Mom said you'd try to turn me against her. I'm not trying to turn you against anyone. I'm telling you the truth because you deserve to know it. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe this, I love you, and I would never do anything to hurt you or your mother, no matter what's happened between us. But I could hear the doubt in her voice when she said goodbye. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how Erin was playing chess while I was still figuring out the rules of the game. She was a lawyer. She knew how to build a case, how to control a narrative, how to make a jury believe her version of events. But she'd made one mistake. She thought I was just a dumb grease monkey who'd roll over and take whatever she dished out. She was about to learn otherwise. I spent the weekend going through every piece of paper in the house: bank statements, credit card bills, phone records, receipts, anything that could document Erin's affair and the money she'd spent on it. What I found was even worse than I'd imagined. She'd been using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and gifts I'd never seen. She'd withdrawn cash from our savings account, money I'd earned working 60-hour weeks, to buy lingerie and jewelry for her affair. She'd even used our card to pay for a weekend trip to Boston that she'd told me was a legal conference. The phone records were particularly damning. Hundreds of calls and texts to Grant's personal number, often late at night when she'd told me she was working or out with girlfriends. But the real smoking gun was in her laptop, which she'd left behind in her hurry to pack. I knew her password. It was Lily's birthday, which said something about how seriously she took digital security. Her email account was a treasure trove of evidence, explicit messages between her and Grant going back 15 months, photos I never wanted to see. But more importantly, conversations about their future plans, including Grant's promise to leave his wife once his youngest child graduated high school. There were also emails between Erin and her sister Rebecca, where Erin complained about being stuck with a husband who had no ambition and was holding her back socially and professionally. I printed everything and took it to Tom Bradley on Psy Monday morning. "This is excellent," he said, flipping through the evidence. "She's handed us everything we need. The adultery is well documented, and the financial records show she was spending marital assets on the affair. What about her claims that I was abusive? With this evidence, those claims look like exactly what they are: a smokescreen to distract from her own behavior. We'll file a counterclaim citing adultery and financial misconduct. Will that help with the asset division? In New Hampshire, it absolutely will. A judge is not going to look kindly on someone who cheated for over a year and spent marital funds on their affair. She might end up with far less than she's expecting." That afternoon, I got a call from Grant Whitmore himself. "Mr. Morrison, I think we should talk." "I don't have anything to say to you, Grant." "I think you do. This situation has gotten out of hand. Erin is very upset about your reaction to recent events." "My reaction? You mean my reaction to finding out my wife has been fucking her boss for over a year? There's no need for crude language. We're all adults here. Adults don't sneak around behind their spouse's back. Adults don't lie for over a year. Adults don't spend someone else's money on their affair. Look, I understand you're angry, but making this public isn't going to help anyone, especially Lily. You should have thought about Lily before you started screwing her mother. What do you want, Morrison? Money? I'm prepared to be reasonable." The arrogance in his voice was stunning. He actually thought he could buy me off, make this whole thing go away with a check. "What I want is for you to stay the hell away from my family. What I want is for you to face the consequences of your actions instead of trying to bribe your way out of them. Don't be naive. This kind of scandal won't hurt me. I'm a partner at a prestigious law firm. But it will destroy Erin's career and reputation. Is that what you want? Erin should have thought about that before she decided to cheat on her husband. You're making a mistake, Morrison. I have resources you can't imagine. I can make your life very difficult. Are you threatening me, Grant? I'm offering you a chance to handle this quietly and profitably. Don't be stupid enough to turn it down. I hung up on him. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Aaron. Jake, what the hell did you say to Grant? He's furious. I told him to stay away from my family. He's trying to help. He offered to give you money to make this easier. I don't want his money. I want him to face the consequences of breaking up a marriage. You're being ridiculous. This doesn't have to be a war. You made it a war when you filed papers claiming I was abusive. You made it a war when you tried to destroy my reputation to cover up your affair. I had to protect myself legally. My lawyer said, "Your lawyer told you to lie about me being abusive?" Silence. That's what I thought. Well, here's some news for you, Aaron. I've got evidence of your affair going back 15 months. I've got bank records showing you spent thousands of our money on Grant. I've got emails where you call me names and plan your future with your married boyfriend. You went through my computer? You left it here when you moved out to shack up with your boss. And it's a good thing I did, because now I know exactly what kind of person I was married to. Jake, please. We can work this out. We don't have to destroy each other. You started the destruction when you decided to cheat. I'm just finishing it. That evening, Lily came by the house. She looked tired and confused, caught between two parents who were at war. Dad, I talked to Mom. She says you're trying to ruin her career. I'm defending myself against false accusations. There's a difference. She says you hacked her computer. She left her laptop here when she moved out. I found emails proving she's been lying about our marriage and her affair. I don't want to hear about this stuff. Can't you guys just get divorced without destroying each other? I sat down across from her at the kitchen table. Lily, your mother filed legal papers claiming I was abusive. Do you understand what that means? If people believe that, it could destroy my business, my reputation, everything I've worked for. I can't let her lie about me to protect herself. But if you fight back, won't it hurt her just as much? She should have thought about that before she decided to cheat and then lie about it. Lily stared at the table for a long moment. I hate this. I hate that you guys are making me choose sides. I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm asking you to understand that I'm not the bad guy here, no matter what your mother tells you. But you're both acting like bad guys. She wasn't wrong. But sometimes when someone declares war on you, you have to fight back or get destroyed. After Lily left, I sat in my garage working on the Mustang, thinking about how quickly everything had changed. A week ago, I was just a guy with a cheating wife. Now I was in the middle of a legal battle that would determine the rest of my life. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Drop the divorce or face the consequences. I showed it to Mick when he stopped by the next morning. That's gotta be Grant, he said. You should report this to the police. And tell them what? That someone sent me a vague text message? It's witness intimidation. It's illegal. It's also unprovable. But it tells me I'm getting to them. Mick looked at me with concern. Jake, be careful. These people have money and connections. They play by different rules than we do. Maybe it's time they learned that blue-collar guys can fight dirty too. I was about to find out just how dirty this fight could get. The anonymous threats escalated over the next few days. Someone called my biggest client and told them I was going through personal issues that might affect my work quality. Another anonymous caller reported my garage to the fire marshal for safety violations that resulted in a surprise inspection. When I arrived at work one morning, I found my business sign spray-painted with the word loser. But the worst part was watching how quickly my social circle turned against me. People I'd known for years suddenly had scheduling conflicts when I called. Invitations stopped coming. Even casual acquaintances seemed uncomfortable around me. The whisper campaign was working perfectly. Aaron and Grant were using their social connections to paint me as an unstable, angry husband, while positioning Aaron as the victim of an abusive marriage. I was getting a first-hand education in how the game was played at their level. The breaking point came when I ran into Janet Morrison. No relation, despite the name, at the grocery store. Janet was married to a doctor and had always been friendly at the social events Aaron dragged me to. "Oh, Jake," she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I heard about you and Aaron." Such a shame. "Yeah, it's been rough." "Well, I hope you get the help you need." "Help? For your issues?" "Aaron told us about your problems with anger management. It's good that you're both getting some space." I stared at her, realizing that this was what Aaron had been telling people, that I had anger management problems, that I needed help, that she was the long-suffering wife finally escaping an abusive situation. "Janet, I don't have anger management issues. Aaron has been having an affair for over a year. That's why we're getting divorced." Janet's expression shifted to uncomfortable disbelief. "Oh, I mean, Aaron wouldn't. She's such a lovely person. She's been sleeping with Grant Whitmore." "I have proof." "Well, I should go. Take care of yourself, Jake." She practically ran away from me, leaving me standing in the cereal aisle, realizing that no one was going to believe me. Aaron was educated, well-spoken, and socially connected. I was just a mechanic with grease under his fingernails. That evening, I called Tom Bradley. "Tom, they're destroying my reputation. People think I'm some kind of abusive husband. I know it's frustrating, but we have the evidence to prove otherwise. When this gets to court, what if it doesn't get to court? What if she succeeds in making me look so bad that I lose my business, my friends, everything? Jake, you need to stay focused on the legal battle. Don't do anything that could be used against you." But I was past the point of playing defense. It was time to go on the attack. I started with social media. I created a Facebook post with photos of the credit card statements showing Aaron's hotel and restaurant charges, along with a simple caption. "Interesting how my abusive behavior didn't stop my wife from spending our money on hotels and fancy dinners with her boss for over a year. Adultery, ate lies truth." The post went viral in our small town within hours. People were sharing it, commenting on it, asking questions. Suddenly, the narrative started shifting. Then I printed flyers with the same information and posted them around town, on community bulletin boards, coffee shops, anywhere people gathered to gossip. Each flyer had a simple message. "Ask Erin Morrison why she spent $15,000 of her husband's money on her affair with Grant Whitmore." My phone started ringing immediately. Tom Bradley was furious. "Jake, what the hell are you doing? This could hurt our case." "They've been destroying my reputation for weeks. I'm just telling the truth." "You're engaging in public humiliation. A judge could see this as harassment." "Let them. I've got documentation for every claim I'm making." But Tom was right to be worried. Within 24 hours, I received a cease and desist letter from Grant's law firm, threatening to sue me for defamation and harassment. I called Mick and read him the letter. "They're scared," he said. "Good. But Jake, you need to be smart about this. These people have resources. I'm tired of being smart. I'm tired of playing by rules they don't follow. What's your next move?" I looked at the evidence spread across my kitchen table. Bank statements, emails, photos, phone records. Everything I needed to destroy both of them. I'm going to give them a war they'll never forget. The next morning, I drove to Grant's office building downtown. It was one of those glass and steel monuments to success that made my garage look like a shack. I walked into the marble lobby carrying a cardboard box and asked to see Grant Whitmore. "Do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked, looking at my work clothes with barely concealed disdain. "Tell him Jake Morrison is here to discuss his affair with my wife." Her eyes widened, but she made the call. 5 minutes later, Grant appeared, his face red with anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Morrison?" "I brought you something." I opened the box and pulled out printed copies of every email, every photo, every piece of evidence I'd collected. "I thought you might want to see what I'm planning to share with your wife, your partners, and the State Bar Association." His face went white. You can't do this. This is extortion. This is consequences. You wanted to play games with my marriage and my reputation? Let's play. What do you want? I want you to admit publicly that you've been having an affair with my wife. I want you to admit that the claims about me being abusive are lies. And I want you to stay the hell away from my family. I can't do that. It would ruin my career. Should have thought about that before you decided to screw my wife. Grant looked around the lobby, realizing that our conversation was attracting attention from other people in the building. Let's discuss this privately, he said, leading me toward the elevators. No need. I've said what I came to say. I left the box of evidence on the reception desk. Make sure Mr. Whitmore gets this. And tell him his wife might be interested in the photos on page 15. I walked out of the building feeling better than I had in weeks. For the first time since this whole mess started, I was the one making the moves instead of just reacting. My phone rang before I even got to my truck. It was Erin, and she was screaming, "Jake, what did you do? Grant is having a panic attack. His partners are asking questions. You've lost your mind." I've found my mind. I spent too many years letting people walk all over me. That stops now. You're going to destroy innocent people. The only innocent people in this situation are the spouses you've been lying to and the children whose families you've been breaking up. Jake, please. We can work this out. Grant will pay you whatever you want. I don't want his money. I want justice. This isn't justice. It's revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. I hung up and drove back to my garage, where I found 2 police officers waiting for me. Mr. Morrison, we need to talk to you about a complaint of harassment and threatening behavior. And just like that, Grant and Erin had escalated the war to a whole new level. But I wasn't backing down. Not anymore.